Charlatan, more than a bargain then. I say I think women have cocks and that men look good in frocks, but I'll sell my arse on OnlyFans and claim that it's a feminist friend. But I've sold out to any who pay. That's the modern feminist charlatan's way. I'm a feminist where men go first. You see that I'm the worst. No wonder I'm so bitter. My feminism made life shitter. I wanted to sell out every girl for the magic of a man in her space. I wanted to make every last woman feel that I'm just a fucking disgrace. Feminist charlatan, more than a bargain and I say I think women have cocks and that men look good in frocks, but I'll sell my arse on OnlyFans and claim that it's a feminist friend. But I've sold out to any who pay. That's the modern feminist charlatan's way. Men can enter our spaces. We have no right to object. If you speak for women's rights, your career can just get wrecked. Girls in the boxing ring goes the race. Have a man in your changing room with a grin on his face. Don't be a bigot when he shows his dick. Don't feel so scared that you claim to feel sick. Feminist charlatan, more than I bargained and I say I think women have cocks and that men look good in frocks, but I'll sell my arse on OnlyFans and claim that it's a feminist friend. But I've sold out to any who pay. That's the modern feminist charlatan's way. Men can enter our spaces. We have no right to object.
It's not that difficult, is it? If I can't see my own face. I can't see any of the chat either. So brilliant. Isn't it brilliant? Anyway, no baubles in women's spaces. Get your stickers. I thought I'd have a little chat about the WI. Yes, Marjorie, we all love a crumb of dick. So anyway, get yourself one of these. Look at that. This is a really soft, amazing scarf. And do you want to see what's underneath? Oh, I'm so annoyed that I can't see chat. How nice is that? So it's a 3/4 sleeve. It's nice, isn't it? It's like a t-shirt material, very comfortable, thick. So it does all the right things and squeezes all the right places. And if you like it, you can get it in the shop. It's so new. I haven't even had time to photograph it apart from on my body. So do enjoy. It's nice, isn't it? It's nice. Let me just switch that to over here while I talk for another couple of seconds. So we will listen to, I mean, come on. Let me just show you one more time. Who else do you know with such amazing stuff? No one. No one. That's who. So Merry Turfmas to you. Get yourself one of these tops. It's lovely. Or the Christmas jumper. Still got a few of those. But when they're gone, they're gone. They won't be coming back. Maybe never, ever, ever, ever. So I just want to warn you. Let's have a quick listen to the WI. Listen to the WI. Poor woman. Terrible. What a terrible thing that happened today.
women's organisation in the UK, founded in 1915.
1915. Before women had the vote, they had the Women's Institute. 1915.
Melissa, explain to me how they came to this decision.
So the WI is announcing today with sincere regret that from April next year we
No men.
will no longer be able to provide access to our membership for transgender women.
The WI are very upset about not being able to let pervert blokes into a women's institute that is 110 years old. And I myself am devastated because I love an autogynephile.
And that's after 40 years of fellowship and sisterhood with those women.
There's no sisterhood with men. There's no sisterhood with men. Man! He's a man!
I use public toilets and I piss on the seat.
I mean, I don't feel sisterhood with women, but it's definitely, there is no such thing as sisterhood with men.
Unfortunately, the legal position as it stands means that we can no longer offer that.
You could never offer it. There was never a point at which you should have been offering it. Never, never, never. There was never a point that that would have been a good idea. Ever.
We've spoken with our council who represent our members. We've been exploring this for years. We don't shy away from difficult topics. But since April, we've really focused on this policy because since the Supreme Court ruling, there's a requirement on all organisations to do so. So we've worked with our membership through our...
There was always a requirement. You were just fucking assholes. There was always a requirement for you to exclude men. And you didn't. And even if it wasn't a legal requirement, there would have been a time where there was no legal compulsion for you to have a women's organisation that excluded these blokes or included them. And you chose to include them. God knows why.
Our council to explore the issues, to explore the legal options, and then to make our decision about where we stand.
And this is the only option that is available to you.
It absolutely is. And you know, our council...
I just want to reflect. I wish I'd keyed it up, actually, but queued it up. I just want to reflect on the tone and the way that so far this interview is being dealt with in comparison to how they treated the Darlington nurses.
So we're very clear, the majority of them wish to remain trans-inclusive, but that legal option wasn't open to us.
No, men inclusive, including men. Loads of the women in the WI wanted to include men.
I can see you're sitting opposite me here. You talk about profound regret and it shows in your face. Tell me a little bit more about making that decision and that decision process for you personally.
It's a difficult decision because there's legal aspects here, there's social aspects, but ultimately the WI is a women's organisation. You know, we're a campaigning organisation, we're an educational organisation, but it's based on friendship and deeply rooted connections. And some of our transgender members have been with us for 4 decades.
Yeah, never should have. You never should have had men because you're not talking. Why aren't they saying men? Why are they saying transgender? They're not talking about women who pretend to be men here. They're talking about men in dresses.
They've been part of our family.
You talk about it as a difficult decision.
Can I just say, I really, really do hate the idea that everyone calls everything a family. You're not a family. You're an institution, a club, a membership. You're not a family. You're not a family if you just live together and you're not related by marriage or by blood. You're not a family. It's just, let's stop using the word family to mean something other than family. You're not a family.
For you and for the WI, but there are many biological women who will see this as good news, enabling them to gather as a single sex group in an organisation that has the word women in the name.
Absolutely, and it's a difficult decision because our members, we're 175,000 women. We will have 175,000 views on everything. And our job is always to find a point, not of consensus, but a point where we feel that it's comfortable for the organisation. So it's difficult because some of our members will feel very strongly on both sides of this. And we have many members who will hold gender critical views, and it needs to be a safe and respectful space for them, as it does for our transgender
A turn up.
gender members.
Back in 2023.
Not transgender members, men.
There was a petition from some WI members calling for a pause in admitting trans members, saying that the WI had been de facto forced to accept men. How much has that dominated the WI in recent years? And did that conversation factor into your decision that you're announcing today?
It will possibly surprise listeners that this hasn't been a conversation that has dominated our internal debates.
It has not.
It has not. So since April, we've had 67 unique pieces of correspondence about this. We're 175,000, and many of those were from outside our organisation.
Yeah, and loads of those in the organisation would have just left. Anyway, from one really quite important, influential woman who is a feminist charlatan, let's have a look at another, shall we? So just before we do, I'm going to just remind you all what Munro Bergdorf looked like in 8 years ago. Let's just remind you of his face before I show you the next bit.
Yeah, but what I'm suggesting is that you're making a leap from what emerged in these figures to saying that the cause must be victimization, victimhood, must be racist, whereas some of the elements clearly were not.
Right. So that's what he looked like. Clearly he's had Botox and some sort of, maybe some surgeries there, maybe just eyebrow shaping and fillers and Botox. So now let's have a look at what he looks like in the last few months. The reason I'm showing you Munro is because he came up on my timeline on YouTube, and he said really similar things about the Supreme Court as the other bloke called Bell that I looked at the other day. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to see a few things. I'm going to try not to be too mean, although it's very difficult because we have to remember that Munro has done loads of pornified shoots. And still has a penis. And in one of the photo shoots with him with ridiculously large fake breasts, he also has his penis very much on show. So we know that everything that he's done here, and when he talks about womanhood and so on, that he still has his penis. Not that I think it makes a massive difference. I just think it puts all of his comments into a context, which means as much, I just don't have as much compassion for him as someone who maybe had mutilated themselves and had no way back. This is a man that clearly is addicted to surgeries, and I mean, look, it's just crazy. So anyway, just remind you of my top. It's nice, isn't it? It's got a nice little collary thing. So yeah, perfect. And 3/4 sleeves, because I don't know about you ladies, but I hate t-shirts and I don't always want to wear something that goes around my wrists. Anyway, I digress. So this is Munro Bergdorf talking to Fearne Cotton. And I think we, the narrative that they tell, I don't even know if he tells himself this stuff, but it's quite insane. Do I have chat? I still don't have chat.
When people ask me, my initial reaction is, I'm good.
A couple of things. I watched this whole interview. I don't always, but he can't close his mouth. He can't speak properly. If you think about how he's talking here.
Not racist. There are
No,
problems there
I don't
which
think
aren't.
the inquiry was just on race. I think it's intersections. So you've got intersections of race and class, which...
And now he's got these teeth that don't fit and he can't speak. And he also can't breathe very well because often you'll hear him do the like this. I mean, that is a modified face.
But then you kind of have that moment where you're like, "Ooh, like, can I really go there with somebody?" I think in this instance, I really, want to go there, but it's difficult because you don't want to let it rule your life. This Supreme Court ruling is really landmark in the trajectory of how our community is able to participate in public life. With the guidance that followed it, it reads.
See? Also, the other reason I want to play it is because Fearne Cotton is just like, she does a lot of this. As if he's not talking absolute nonsense, and he really does talk a lot of absolute nonsense.
Like segregation. And when you've got that looming, it's very difficult to not spiral into despair. So I'm both, really investing in my personal life and pouring myself into my friendships and my career and my partner and my family. And like, I'm really good in my personal life, but then also is how this could serve to erase our human rights. Ultimately,
this is recognizing that men can't be women in the Supreme Court. He thinks will erase his human rights. Wait until you hear some of the justification for that.
The guidance really disregards the Equality Act, which should concern all of us because the Equality Act protects all of our rights, regardless of who we are or how we identify. It even protects workers' rights and the right to not be exploited by your employer.
God, he's so insightful, isn't he? The Equality Act is about all of our rights. Yes. And let me just say, just in case you guys need any tips on how to argue this, there were two different categories. One of them I don't think should be in the... Well, I hate the Equality Act. I think it should be scrapped. But there's sex in the Equality Act and there's gender reassignment. And if those two things were the same, there wouldn't be two categories. If gender reassignment meant that you then had the sex-based rights of a woman, you wouldn't have something called gender reassignment in there. That wouldn't need to be a separate category. So the fact that sex is a separate category to gender reassignment means that it is not the fucking same, and that you can't be included in women's rights if you're a man. I know. So complicated.
So if people can just go in and remove what they fancy from the Equality Act.
Okay, it's not been removed, Monroe. What's happened is they've said, basically the court said, don't be so stupid. Of course, biological sex in the Equality Act, of course, woman in the sex category means biological sex, and it doesn't mean you. So they haven't taken anything out. I don't know what you think they've taken out of the Equality Act. They've just simply said that men can't be women, and when we're talking about women and what women's rights are, they don't include men.
Then what's to stop a future government saying, we don't want workers' rights, we don't want women's rights, we don't want right to abortion, we don't want freedom of religious expression? Because all of these things are protected by the Equality Act 2010. So my concern is not just...
My concern is that with these hormones, my IQ has plummeted into something that resembles the trajectory of a single figure IQ.
Just the impact that this is going to have on the trans community, but that we are sleepwalking into disaster as a country where any government, future government, and how it's looking, the idea of a reform government or a reform Tory coalition coming into power could just turn around and say, we don't fancy these rights for these people. And then it's...
Not recognising men as women is not the same as pretty much anything else, apart from maybe the right to religion, which actually I don't think is right. As in, I don't think you should be able to say, I want that job and I want to wear what I want to wear when the uniform is something else. I don't think you have a right to demand that workers bow to your religious beliefs. I just don't. Just get a different job.
Silos us into a situation that is going to be very difficult to return from, and prioritizes certain kinds of humanity rather than acknowledging that we are all humans that deserve human rights, period.
Yeah. Wow. Just so insightful. You know, it just disregards the humanity and silos humans into an inhuman humanity. Yeah. And workers might not have rights if I can't put my cock in a woman's bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get into the book in absolute detail in a moment, but I read it in one sitting, which I think...
That's a good sign.
Yeah, I think it's the sort of book that you need to read. If this isn't necessarily, I might have truncated this, but about that, because that was one, I mean, I think it was in one sentence you sort of summed it up, and I was like, wow, that, I needed to read that explicitly and understand it better.
Do you know what that sentence was? Because
I can
write
maybe
a few
even
different...
find it, but I've written down loosely here. The real threat isn't trans women. It's that the vast majority of, this isn't necessarily, I might have truncated this, but the vast majority of, say, crimes like rape, violence, murder are instigated by men. So we're not...
Yes. And what we're saying, Fearne, is that Munro is a man. And so we don't differentiate between a man who has fake breasts and an enormous fake face, and a man who has no body modifications at all. So that's the point. It's quite frightening looking at him. Like, he looks like a robot.
Not looking at that. We're directing all of that rage, all of that injustice and anger to trans women.
Yeah, I think the problem really lies in that the majority of people who are angry towards trans people have never met a trans person in their...
I have met some, and I'm not angry. I just think you're a man. I just don't want to share my space with you or any other man when that space is just for women. That's all it is. In a way, I feel a bit sorry for you that you kind of think that you are deserving of these rights because it's deluded. And anyone that does that much modification to their face is obviously a very, very troubled person. But no, you ain't coming in, mate.
Their life. So when you don't know a person who's trans personally, it's very easy to be convinced that they are someone that they're not.
No, I just think you're a man.
Or it's very easy to be manipulated into having your very valid fears projected onto somebody that doesn't actually have anything to do with those fears, but actually shares those fears too.
And let me remind everybody watching that there is a website called Trans Crime UK. Go and have a look, and it's got loads and loads of men who claim to be women or claim to be trans, not so they can commit crime, but just anyway. They just happen to commit crime and be men that call themselves trans. It's this idea, and I'm pretty sure he says this in a minute, but this idea that men are going to dress up as trans women and come into women's spaces. That is a bit closer to happening, I guess. But actually, it's the men that are pretending to be women full time that I don't want them in my spaces either.
Trans women share a lot of the same fears that cis women face. As a trans woman, my reality is very different to a cisgender woman's, but so is a black woman's experience to a white woman's to...
Yeah, but none of us have a cock. So that's quite a difference. None of us were raised in this society. None of us as boys. None of us have know what it feels like to have testosterone coursing through our veins. We don't know what it's like to have an erection. We don't know what it's like to have a wank. Like, we don't know what it's like to feel humiliated by other boys for not being masculine enough. Like, there's loads of things that we don't have in common with you. But with all women, we have a commonality that we all know what it's like to be on this earth in a female body, living amongst men, living with each other. That's something that these men just don't get. It's not about whether or not we're all scared of getting raped. Like, I'm not particularly scared of getting raped. I mean, clearly it would be a terrible thing, but it doesn't occupy my mind. It doesn't change many of the things I would ever do. But I am acutely aware that a man is infinitely stronger than me, and I've known that since I was very, very tiny, which is not something that Munro has experienced or understands. And even if we both were scared of spiders, it doesn't mean that we have a common experience, more common, or that our experience is more common. Therefore, we both must be women.
An Asian woman's to a disabled woman. All of our experiences are valid. They all matter.
He just talks in constant word salad, doesn't he? I mean, I don't know if he was always a bit thick, or whether this is sort of the impact of wrong sex hormones.
And we are often scared of the same things. But when you've got a society...
Being a woman is not about what we are afraid of. That is not what being a woman is. That's our experience as women, the things that we are afraid of, but that isn't an integral part of being female.
That is ultimately weaponizing those fears instead of solving them. It's misdirecting the blame, because if we were to actually explore where that blame lies, I think it's a direction that maybe society is not ready for. It's really, really important that we do, though, with soaring misogyny rates.
Yeah, but you are warning misogyny, Munro, because you have fake breasts, you do pornified content, and you claim that being a woman is a set of fears and fillers. Like, so that you wouldn't exist without misogyny. You personally, you are the embodiment of misogyny.
You know, with the conversation around adolescents coming out and a lot of people having their eyes opened to the radicalization of young men and boys.
Just skip on.
Everyone's lives, and, you know, endangering people through merely existing, and through wanting to go for a swim, somehow that's like inconveniencing the rest of...
Just not your cock in a women's only space. It's really, it's so telling. Like, even if I was persuaded that these men could be women, they never have the consideration of women, where women are thinking, I wonder how this impacts other people. Like, it's just so deluded.
Society, and it's a real shame, because we've seen all of this play out before with the proposed segregation of minority groups, whether or not that's saying that Black women shouldn't be allowed in the same spaces as white women.
Yeah, right. Okay. So if it's a space for women, then Black women and white women can come in. And at no point did Black women, but let's talk about segregation. There was no point at which a segregated place would say, this is for women. And then Black women said, well, we are white women, right? Terrible. Like, I don't want to be on the side of segregation when it comes to color, but I'm very much about segregation when it comes to sex. So it's just, you just ain't coming in.
Because they're inherently angry or inherently violent.
It wasn't about violence or anger. It was about racism and seeing Black women as subhuman, seeing Black people as somehow sort of not like us. It was a despicable, vile, racist thing. It wasn't that we thought, oh, Black women are aggressive.
or not real women. And then the pipeline of where that, comes from is heartbreaking. In medical racism as well, Black women were operated on to form modern medicine because they...
Yeah, but not their penises. So I don't know if I really want to, because he talks a lot about himself, the armor of femininity, self-acceptance. I think it's too boring. He's too boring. He's just really dull. But I did want to have a look at some of the things that she says, that Fearne Cotton says, because she's nuts.
You can't. It's like trying to erase resistance or hope. You can't do it. The natural being of a human is to want to exist. And yeah, you can make it hard for people to exist, but I just think that trans people, you go back in time and we were seen in a completely different way. And Indigenous cultures seen as like people that were the most plugged in spiritually.
No, you weren't. Oh, it was just homophobic stuff, and they would just have a separate space. But no one ever thought that those men were women.
That saw past boundaries and, rigid ways of thinking.
No, that's not true. Fucking hell. They do like to make stuff up, don't they? These men who wear fake identities.
The shaman or that kind of thing. And
shamans were I can't even.
I feel like you go back to the 80s, and trans women are responsible for sparking the queer rights movement in America.
No. It was a Black lesbian woman, female. No.
I just feel like an immense sense of pride for being trans. And it's not because I think that I'm better or anything like that. I think we should all feel proud of being who we are. I think it's a beautiful thing to be a cisgender woman. And, if you're lucky enough to be able to bring life into this world, I think that's amazing. But I don't think that's all that being a cisgender woman is. I think that we are all individuals. And I think the way that my transness interacts with who I am as a person, I feel proud.
Okay, I don't think I can stomach too much more. I'm sure we all can't. So I'm going to leave it there. But look, it's very interesting. There's these narratives coming from somewhere and they keep being told this. I don't know whether it's a whole TikTok thing or whatever it is, but it's odd. It's really odd that they all come out with this same nonsense. Anyway, get yourself one of these. I know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'll leave you with the Christmas song, and I will say this: if you can just, like, the madness is gone now. I think the madness is gone. I think everyone's beginning to realize that it's just demented nonsense, boring nonsense. But if you can wade through it, then I promise we will win. If you can come on the 17th, we're going to be there from quite early in the day. There's some things happening about 1 o'clock, health and social. I'll get you the thing. And then we are going to, once those things are done, we are going to listen to the voices of ordinary women talking about puberty blockers and why the government should stop it. And if you come along to that, I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.
By the big Christmas tree where the choir sang free, we were chanting for women to hear. But the copper flashed his knickers, saying I'll arrest you for stickers, and said his name was Janet this year.
They've got pronouns for liars and adolescence that's dire, and women they often harass. And everyone knows, as the saying still goes, Dave, you simply don't pass.
You pervert, you invader, gross woman, eraser. We know what you are, silly man. Lipstick on a pig, some Dave in a wig. Flash little girls when you can. On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas.
Turf Island is glowing, frosty air, all the snow and Christmas wishes for you and for me. No men in our spaces and out of our faces, you scumbag, grotesque AGP.
On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas. They've got slogans and cries and the deadest of eyes when they rant about stunning and brave. But the whole town agrees, even Brighton decrees, you're still just a fat bloke named Dave. On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas. Galore and a cult keeping score, and they shriek if you don't kiss their arse. But the women hold fast, 'cause biology last. And no, Dave, you still don't pass. On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas. On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas.
They've got tantrums and tears and validation fears, and they beg for applause from the class. But the girls stand their ground, 'cause the truth comes around. And no, Dave, you'll never pass.
You pervert, you invader, gross woman, eraser. We know what you are, silly man. Lipstick on a pig, some Dave in a wig. Flash little girls when you can. On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas. On Turf Island the lights glow, the moms shout no. Our children are safer today. Our bravery grows and our voices will last. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas.
And this year we sing Merry Turfmas. And this year we sing Merry Turfmas. We stand on the edge of a whisper, our voices trapped deep and so low, but the words now rise like the oceans and the sadness that only we know. Woman, adult, human, female, not hard to define, but they twist and turn